What happens when your character is predetermined before you even get a say? When not only nature, but nurture and the familial bonds around you determine the type of person you are, even just as a child. And you are inherently shoved into a role that you will have to fulfill for the rest of your life. Well, in this case, you are left with the burden of strength and are defined by one word only, that being hero. And the character and person I am referring to is none other than Reinhard von Astrea from ReZero. So that's exactly what today's video is going to be about. The character of Reinhard von Astrea, the burden he carries, and the familial dynamic and bonds that made him the way he is, and how I tend to believe he is one of, if not the greatest representations of the strongest within all of media. So if you're into content like this, into ReZero and all that cup of tea, make sure that you leave a like and subscribe. And anyways, let's just go ahead and get right into the video. ReZero as a series is built upon the theme that growth is only available through emotional truth. This is commonly represented with characters such as Subaru and Amelia only being able to progress forward when they are being emotionally vulnerable to the people around them. It's exactly why Subaru was only able to get through Arc 2 when he opened up to Amelia and cried on her lap, or why he was only able to progress from Zero when he opened up to Rem and finally conveyed how he felt on the inside. What I am inevitably getting at here is that Reinhardt's character is inherently paradoxical to this theme and this idea often portrayed throughout ReZero. While objectively being the strongest character that we see throughout all of ReZero, Reinhardt is inherently and also paradoxically the most trapped character within the series. And from the very first moment we see Reinhardt, he is characterized as essentially everything Subaru thought he was going to be when originally isekai'd into the ReZero world. Somebody strong, noble, handsome, who is there to save the day when help is needed. Within this first interaction between Subaru and Reinhardt is when we get the first glimpse of Reinhardt's true character and how trapped he really is. He subtly hints at the familial problems that is affecting the Astrea family. It is this strength and duty to be the sword saint that was given to him just as a child that was inherently stripped from his grandmother Theresia that is the main contributor to why Reinhardt is the way he is. When Theresia was stripped of the sword saint ability, Reinhardt was within that moment forever cut off from the rest of the Astrea family. And not only the Astrea family, but this defining moment was when Reinhardt was cut off from the rest of the world and was no longer just a kid, but was a threat to the world around them. From the very moment Reinhardt got the moniker Sword Saint, growth became impossible, and he inevitably became a slave to the identity of that name. This is commonly reiterated by multiple characters throughout the series, with the most prominent example being Puck, saying Reinhardt is exactly who he is. He is a hero, and a hero is all he could ever be because the identity that he has attached himself to unwillingly is a moniker that cannot be held by anyone else within the series. He is a monster who hunts monsters, as he tells Regulus, and he has fully chosen to act and conform to that identity. This is all inherently due to the strength that I mentioned that he has from being the Sword Saint and being cut off from the rest of the world. As previously mentioned, with characters such as Subaru, Rem, and Amelia, we see them grow through emotional vulnerability. We see them grow through being weak. Reinhardt does not have this opportunity or this chance. He is already the strongest, and any problem that he would really need to be solved, he could do so just solely through brute strength. It is this lack of vulnerability, though, that provides Reinhardt his strength. His fact that he has no emotional wavering leads him to be able to progress forward and do the tasks he must do. We see this amazingly within Arc 5, in which when Theresia's reanimated body appears, Wilhelm and Heinkel are distraught. They are freaking out and they cannot handle the moniker of slaying her. Reinhardt, on the other hand, knows that that is not Theresia. He is attaching no emotional value to the name that is being reanimated and in turn remains stoic and is able to slice her down with no burden. He is a slave to the idealized image of justice that the kingdom of Lagunica threw upon him from a very young age, nurtured into this being. This is when I want to go a bit into the nature versus nurture of Reinhardt. While Reinhardt by nature was always probably going to be the strongest and was going to be one of the most important characters within ReZero, it was the nurturing and the reaction of his family and how this all went down that really made him into the lack of emotion and, slave to the Sword Saint title that he is. The Astrea family is a messy one, to say say the least. And Reinhardt's lack of emotions is a great reflection of the lack of emotions that Wilhelm was displaying many, many years ago. Wilhelm, to say the least, was a neglectful character, never being able to tell Theresia that he loved her, and was somebody who tried to remain stoic at all times. This inevitably had an impact upon his child, that being Heinkel. This generational trauma passed down to Heinkel left a lasting impact on Reinhardt, as when Reinhardt was a kid, he loved nobody else more in the world than his father. Shown within a side story Once Upon a Time in Lagunica, where Heinkel's best friend was essentially leaving the Royal Guard and the Knights, and Reinhardt essentially wished for a divine protection just so he could make sure his dad is happy so his friend doesn't leave. In which Heinkel had to tell him to never do such a thing ever again. Heinkel being within the middle of this familial conflict is honestly amazing, and his character within itself is really good, so let me know if you want an analysis on that. He is consistently put under the burden of being pulled in each direction, whether that be by Reinhard or Wilhelm, his mother versus his son. Without getting into spoilers, many events within Arc 9 and things revealed only strengthen this dynamic even more, and the theme of him being pulled which way and not knowing what to do as a father. He is really one of the best characters within ReZero, so I shall be making analysis on him soon. Anyways, back to the main topic. For the rest of the ReZero world, Reinhardt is not so much a man, but is at a point where he is a myth and a symbol. He's not a man or a person that can connect on a level with the people around him. He is somebody who will never be able to fully understand the people around him. And one of the best examples of this is within Arc 3 when Subaru is so upset about Julius and is throwing a fit essentially, and Reinhardt tries to talk to him and Subaru just tells him to go away. You don't understand. You can't understand. And it's true, Reinhardt does not have the moniker of understanding such a situation. This inherent inability to not fully be able to connect with the people around him and not understand the mantle of the emotional burden that a character like Subaru is facing is only further strengthened by what happened when he was a child with his grandmother Theresia, and the familial neglect that was pushed onto him because of such. For me, it makes his foil with Subaru just so much more interesting. Subaru came from a loving family and a supportive background, but despite this, deals within sin, whereas Reinhardt deals within virtue, while Reinhardt came from a family with really no moral support for him and no backbone for him. And what I mean by Subaru deals within sin is he is collecting these sins, whereas Reinhardt is the definition of virtue within the ReZero world, where Subaru is constantly rejecting fate and trying over and over again. Reinhardt is quite the opposite and instead chooses to embrace fate and the abilities that are inherently given to him by the world around him, embracing the love for the world that is thrust upon him. And instead of rejecting anything, he is a static figure and does what he is told by the kingdom. Overall, one of the main points I think ReZero is trying to say about Reinhardt is that strength without any emotional depth or vulnerability is hollow inside. And that this idea of perfection that we see with Reinhardt and absolute strength is something that is inherently just not human. He is able to represent why this idea of a hero Subaru had when originally isekai to the ReZero world is so hollow inside, and why it was such a wrong route for Subaru, and why something like that could have never worked out. As being something like that will ultimately just disconnect you from the people around you, not being able to form bonds and really connect with others. He is honestly a tragic figure within the series of ReZero, masked as this symbol of hope and justice. He can never struggle, he can never fail, and he can never break down. It's this inability to break down and be vulnerable that keeps him as a static figure and never being able to truly character develop or evolve as a person. It takes away his stature as a human and ultimately leaves him as a symbolic representation of a hero. He is an idea and not a whole man. In contrast, it is Subaru's emotional vulnerability and existential failure over and over again through inabilities such as return by death that ultimately makes him human and is able to make him grow through growing as a person and progress forward within the world by the connections that he is being forced to make. Reinhardt is somebody who is revered by the soul of the world itself, Agna, while Subaru is rejected by it, but in turn, Reinhardt is an emotionally static character, whereas Subaru is somebody who is extremely emotionally complex and has built connections with the people around him, and does so by collecting the sins. It's why within the Shadow Garden, whenever Subaru collects a new sin or authority, he gains a new body part, because to collect all the 7 sins is truly to be human, whereas Reinhardt can never do such and is completely rejected as such, and is ultimately why he is not human. Overall, Reinhardt's character is a complete rejection of what Subaru thought a hero was within a world. His character serves the purpose as a symbolic representation of what Subaru wanted to be and why Subaru was wrong when he was originally isekai'd and had such a false idea of what was going on within the world. Reinhardt's character, in my opinion, really is more than just a representation for Subaru. He is somebody who I think could have been saved. And I think that is a point that the ReZero story is getting at right now. And you may say saved, what do you mean? Reinhardt's not in danger. What I mean by saved is I think he is somebody who could have had complex emotions and a complex character. While by nature, Reinhardt may have always been destined to be the strongest person within the world, it is really the emotional neglect that was nurtured onto him and the disconnect from his family and the reactions of characters such as Wilhelm that made him into the person he is. To be rejected as a monster from such a young age is a cruel moniker that nobody would be able to handle. And so while Reinhardt's character is not concluded just yet, and there is so much more we have to learn about him and what he really knows within the ReZero world, I think even as right now, he is one of the best and most underrated characters within the entire series. I really just can't wait to see what Tappei has to conclusively say about his character when all is said and done. His character is also one of the reasons why the Pride If is one of my favorite If stories within ReZero, because it is Subaru's complete mental destruction of the moniker of hero that Reinhardt carries. The slave name and identity he is inherently attached to is completely destroyed, leaving him with no character or no person. How could he ever call himself a hero or hold that stature if there is no one to save or no one there for Reinhardt to be there for? What type of hero is that? While yes, Subaru isn't able to kill him within the end and he may still be alive, he has no identity. He is gone. It's almost akin to Reinhardt having his memories and identity eaten by gluttony, honestly. I really do think Reinhardt is one of the best characters within ReZero, and I really hope he's a character we get more on. And I hope he has a happy conclusion, to say the least, although I just can't see that happening. Anyways, thank you guys for watching this today. Finally back to my normal content after so much news content lately. I plan on doing a philosophical breakdown of the themes within ReZero soon. Let me say I'm not no philosopher and I don't have a degree in any of that. I'm just a college kid, so take that with a grain of salt. Obviously, I'm not the most educated, but thank you guys for watching. And anyways, that about does it for today's video. Peace.